On January 7th, the Los Angeles fires broke out and causing unimaginable damage to people's homes, lives, and the environment. To date, the Palisades fire has burned over 24,000 acres, over 12,000 structures. That number is surely going to go up. So now is not the time necessarily for the blame, but just getting all the facts. It gets me to the kind of broader issue, which is how painful it is that this is so quickly used as a political football.
Yo, hey, what we gon' slap today?
All right, the world may not need another podcast, but it can definitely use a slap. Welcome to Slap the Power, the show where we bring together artists who use their powers for progress. I am Rick Barrio-Dill.
And I'm Asia Nakia.
That's right. On the show today, the Los Angeles fires. We have Compassion Kind's update literally from the ground and literally an hour fresh from being at ground zero in the Palisades.
It is also the last week of the Biden administration and also the first week of a convicted felon with access to nuclear codes.
We talk TikTok ban and how we're saving the ship here at Slap the Power.
And then we've got our Pause for Progress, where we are going to give some specific updates on some of our fur friends that you may already know, and also some of our new fur kids from the fire lines.
And a little later, Make This Ish Make Sense, discussing the Gen Z views on the LA fires and a lot of just online ridiculousness related to Los Angeles and the fires. But first, great conversations. They deserve the perfect parent, like this new adult beverage that has 5 milligrams of Delta-9 THC and only 30 calories. Discover Hippie Water at hippiewater.com or find it at Total Wine in Florida, Texas, Arizona, and a bunch more about to come online. Make sure to use the code HippieSlaps for 15% off. And, everybody could use a little hippie water in their life.
Rick, have you heard about Women in the Nude?
C'est quoi?
That's right. I said Women in the Nude.
Tell me more.
With Sasha Piersa.
Oh, the Women in the Nude podcast.
The podcast.
Yes. You mean the breakout hit season 2 podcast,
yes.
Women in the Nude. Tell me about it.
These women are literally bearing all.
Yeah.
We have so many cool artists, celebrities, guest appearances. I love it. I love the women empowerment. I love everything Sasha's vibe is about. It's just a really great podcast. Make sure you tune into Women in the Nude anywhere you get your podcasts.
On January 7th, the Los Angeles fires broke out and causing unimaginable damage to people's homes, lives, and the environment. There have been fires all over the city, and to date, the Palisades fire has burned over 24,000 acres, over 12,000 structures. That number is surely going to go up. I've seen the death toll at, I believe 21. Somebody will have to double check it, but that number is sure to go up. And the Eaton fire, over 14,000 acres burned, only 27% contained. Asia, you are just literally in the door from spending not only the last couple of days in the Palisades, but the weekend in Pasadena and dealing with the Eaton fire and things. And what can you tell us from your perspective on the ground, and especially coming at it from all of the animals and animal rescue standpoint?
It's been really tough. We're doing a lot of search and rescue. We've got identified addresses where we have animals that were known to be in the homes during the fires that could not be evacuated. Unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't find their cats. Some people had to run. They didn't expect the fire to be coming their way. They didn't have a lot of time to plan. But it's just, it's really hard to walk by people's personal belongings just thrown everywhere. Yeah. You see, kids' games, you see photographs, you see someone's filing cabinet. I mean, it's been really rough. And it's just completely demolished. But also in the same time, it's been really odd because you'll be at one house with green grass in perfect condition and walk 10 feet across the street to a completely burned down building. And it's so hard to wrap your head around.
Why do you think there is? Now, you've been talking to some of the firefighters there, obviously.
Yeah,
Why do you think that is?
So I know, one of the things is the fire lines, and obviously they're actively trying to put out fires while they're happening, but also building materials.
Yeah.
Make a huge difference. A lot of people stayed behind and were like hosing and wetting their houses. I think that that's a huge factor in it too. And really you can see I would say the main divider is really street to street. Like
Yeah.
you can walk down one street and all the houses on the left are burnt down, but then all the houses on the right are fine. It's just really bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, nobody has a clear cut answer. It's just like, multiple, either that, a spark,
Yeah.
flew and then caught a line of houses,
Right,
in
right,
a
right.
row,
Yeah.
but then didn't catch the ones next to it, just the way the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
And then, building materials and things. But it's just still, you can tell me all the logic and all the reasons.
Yeah.
But when you're standing in the middle of it and you're literally looking to the right, and
Yeah.
it's complete destruction, everything burnt to the ground, and you're looking to the left and there's like a bird feeder and green grass and every fence post intact. It's really wild. It's been really crazy to see.
I saw and listened to Gavin on PSA, and it was amazing. And I felt like that's everything you want out of a leader in a situation like that. With respect to, there's so much that's still unknown.
Yeah.
So now is not the time necessarily for the blame, but just getting all the facts. It gets me to a kind of broader issue, which is how painful it is that this is so quickly used as a political football,
Right.
and how this is going to be the world that we're dealing with. It's absurd because what it is the minions are already out there in Congress saying, oh, well, this aid is going to have to come with conditions on it. It's like, conditions for right now for what? And the thing is, they can't answer it.
No.
They're not interested in governing. When COVID hit, they weren't interested in governing. Let me remind you, in December of 2019, Trump knew about COVID. Take yourself back to March and April of 2020. But in December of 19, he on Bob Woodward tapes, he knew about COVID. What do you think these people are going to do when these things happen in the future? The heartlessness of it and cruelty is about to be the point. They're showing us they want California to be treated as a different country. Yeah. Shout out to Norm Chad. He had a great bit this morning that was just brilliant, where it was like, we got to keep the number at 50 on 50 states, but let's make the Dakotas one and let's make the Carolinas one. And then that means we get 2 states to pick from, and we could go
okay.
Puerto Rico. How you feel about that?
All right.
Giving
all
them
right.
voting rights, Puerto Rico voting rights.
Yeah.
What? How about Canada? Sure, right? Why not? Mexico?
I mean, I'm about all of it.
But and speaking of Canada and Mexico, the first ones to show up and have our back. Speaking of this amazing, resilient city.
Yeah.
What have you seen on that side?
I mean, yes, they are here. They are helping. And it is just one of those things like that. I'm like, and here we are, facing mass deportation and throwing Mexico under the, table all the time.
A blank check to build as many makeshift prisons as you want. I mean, camps. Sorry.
But it just shows their resilience, and it shows their heart, and it shows how their leader chooses to lead. She is a total badass. I'm just always going to praise the Mexican president. This woman is I just love her so much. And she's not scared of Trump, and she's not going to not let her people help when she wants to do the right thing. And I mean, we've been seeing the firefighters out there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What's the coolest thing you've seen so far or done so far with respect to chalking up a W in this horrific scenario?
I mean, we've had some pretty intense evacuations that were a little scary, sirens going off and police coming in and just trying to evacuate animals as quickly as possible. We did have a case with 25 cats. We had to literally catch every single one of them. It was quite intense. They definitely kicked my butt.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering. But, then we've also had interesting rescues, like getting 17 koi fish, there's just so many interesting animals left behind. But also what I've sort of enjoyed is just hearing a bird chirp every once in a while. And we saw an owl, the other night. There was a family of rabbits, and you're just like, okay, some of you guys made it,
Yeah.
And we're just trying to leave bird seed and things out. but they all seem so like eager for help and for food, and it's just a time for everybody to come together. And I think that's really what I've been seeing. Like everyone's been helping. Hey, do you need a water? Like everyone's checking in on you. The firefighters are making sure if you need a sandwich when they pass you in the field, everybody's just, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good vibes.
And that's what I've felt. I know from the volunteer centers and stuff like that we've seen, they've just been a lot of our dear friends and family members have lost everything that they have. It's hard to process for your family members and friends, and then when it's on this kind of level. I heard today in a meeting that we had earlier where it was, I'm sure this isn't private information or anything like that, but CAA alone, the agency just alone, 27 of their employees lost their homes just from CAA. So now put that across the industry. And I've seen nothing but the city be what the city is, which is badass. Everybody's been rallying where they're maxed out on clothing and basic, housing utensils and stuff. And that's just, it's killer when you see the city rally like that in such a tough situation. And then you look at the rest of the country, or even here, if you're on the Fox News side of the aisle and things like that, where you have everybody pointing a finger, causing a blame game on things that they don't know anything about, misinformation, and really dunking on California in a way that it really just shows them. Right. It's really just showing how bad this stuff isn't good faith arguments, because when it happens to South Carolina, the Democrats control the weather. When it happens to California, it's wokeism.
Right. And
that's
we deserved it.
Yeah, it was and so just incredible love and props to the firefighters, to our Canadian firefighter friends and Mexican firefighter friends, everybody that's helping on the volunteer side and saving animals like Compassion Kind.
When I was coming out today, honestly, to get here, we don't always think about all the tasks that firemen have to do. We always think about saving fires and saving people in these situations. But like today, they were like clearing. They were up like halfway up the mountain, just clearing debris and clearing out like trees and branches that I guess can catch fire easily, is what I'm assuming. Yeah. But like you just see them carrying like tons of branches up and down the mountain. Like they're doing a lot of work. I mean, a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
And a lot of them have been super helpful with animal rescue stuff. There's been some houses we haven't been able to access, and they'll go. And they've been like sending me updates and photos and like doing full walkarounds. And I mean, just really, really cool stuff happening.
What needs the most help right now?
It's one of those things where there's so many individual cases, right? There's a ton of GoFundMe's up. Obviously my heart goes to those families. So if you can support some of the GoFundMe's that are going on, there are, of course, a lot of organizations collecting donations, but really, really do your, research. Yeah. And I think it just does better if you can go to the actual volunteer sites, like the donation centers. Yeah. Instead of just clicking online and sending in a donation, if you can actually physically go, then you can really see what's going on. I mean, meals, opening your home to foster an animal from evacuees. That's a really, really good way to help. Yeah. There's just so many things going on. But
do you have, I'm sure there's a list of foster animals that you're adding to the Compassion Kind site, which you can get through from our show notes, the links in our show notes, as well as at Compassion Kind, which is dope. That's a great way to, adopt a little.
Yeah, because we're getting an influx of animals. Unfortunately, some people are going to surrender. We're going to see more of that over the next coming weeks. Yeah. But on the flip side, it's also been sort of a good thing for some of the shelter animals that have been up on euthanasia lists and things, because a lot of orgs come in during these disasters and take animals from the shelters so new animals can come in. And because we're in a disaster situation, they have to uphold the standard, usually it's 30 days. It may differ. It differs from state to state, but to reunify animals with their fur family or with their family members. Yeah. So I'm really hoping they uphold that and we slow down on some of the euthanasias, during this time, because a lot of people are going to be looking for their animals. Not everyone is microchipped. Yeah. They end up with this rescue or they end up at this shelter. you just don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's like a time for the animals to get a little reprieve, at least out of the shelter systems.
Yeah.
Because everyone is eager to help. Everyone's eager to come down with a van and take dogs out. But we really can't take animals out that are found during the fire because we have to be able to try and reunify them. So it's only if it's an owner surrender and only if they're coming from a shelter where they were already identified as an animal pre-fire.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, but then there's some good things that come out
Yeah.
of these situations.
Sure.
And I like to try and focus on them.
Yeah.
Not to take away from the bad, but if you can find one or two little shining lights in these moments,
No, 100%.
that's one of them.
100%. Yeah. It's
And just seeing people come together and give each other meals and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And LA, you know, LA is so resilient, and it's. I've been actually hopeful for the first time in a long time just by just seeing so much of this that's around. So, yeah, you know, kind of pivoting, but not. You know, at the time of the recording, our recording right now, we're in the final week of you know, Sleepy Joe Biden administration. And you know, but you know, say what you will, accomplish a lot. You know, and there'll be plenty of time to talk about that. But which means we're entering in the second, and I'm telling you, it won't be the last. But second Trump term. We'll say hopeful Trump administration, and dreamers, members of the LGBTQIA community, communities of color, and so many more people. They're just, you know, on edge on what this new administration is going to bring. There's going to apparently be a shock and awe flurry of executive orders on day one. The rally on the 19th, which is what for? It's the first time in the same way of conditioning aid is the first time that's ever been done. I just feel like we're going to make a show out of first times coming up over the next X amount of time. But, you know, what do you expect? I mean, it was funny because everybody's kind of got a different understanding. Do you believe Trump when he says he's going to pardon all the insurrectionists?
I have to, like, it's like I don't believe anything he says, but then I believe everything he says.
He keeps
you know,
us,
I'm in this weird place with everything that comes out of his mouth.
He keeps us in this zone of like stupid and insanely important. You know, ridiculously
right.
stupid and insanely
you know,
important.
things like, you know, we're changing the Gulf of Mexico and we're renaming, you know, there's just so much hoopla going on right now that I don't know what is going to be true, what's going to be not. But what I do know is that my friends that are in, you know, partnerships where they're scared that they may take away marriage rights. I mean, I have friends literally that have gotten married in the last 3 months.
Sure.
Just to try and protect themselves. So there is a lot of thought and a lot of people definitely living in fear and definitely trying to like set themselves up. I've been talking to some friends that are working on their dual citizenships. I mean, it's heavy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely working on my dual citizenship. You can
Code
find me
name
in Kalimnos.
GTFO.
Yes, you can find me in Kalimnos, operating a little dog
That's right. We're
sanctuary
going to be
on
doing
the
our
island.
pod. We're a worldwide pod anyway, so so we're going to be doing our pod from wherever we need to. But it is interesting how they're already signaling the same thing that he did in his first term, which was treating the blue states differently than he treats the red states and withholding aid and things like that, which is it's just mob boss shit. It's just awful. It's not United States of America, and we're just gonna have to deal with this bullshit. But I'm sorry, I got to re-say that. We're just gonna have to re-deal with this BS until until we don't. Now, the thing to hope for is that they're really just ridiculously dumb. And anytime you put that many dumb people, actually scratch that. I'm going to take that. The thing that we have to, I think, be hopeful for is they're not there to govern, as we've determined, right? And so they kind of run into each other a lot. They kind of, that quest for power. It's like the ring, they just kind of get that thing going. I do want to give a shout out, though, to Ice Cube, putting it out there in a new joint that, arrest the president. Go ahead. You got the evidence. He's Russian intelligence. I do think art in any way, shape, and form, whether it's podcasts, whether it's songs, whether it's TikToks, whatever it is going to be. There's a lot of material out there that's coming our
I think
way.
it's like our survival.
Yeah.
like we're gonna have to use art to make it through this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on a lighter note, presidents old and new gathered to pay respects to Jimmy Carter at his funeral. I didn't get to see this,
Rest in
but
power,
yeah,
King. Yeah.
Past presidents, vice presidents, first ladies were mingling, and somehow Trump was not excluded from this. So, tell me, I mean, because this is sort of new knowledge to me. I've been so deep in
Sure,
fires,
actually saving
and
things,
doing
lives
so,
and animals from
like
real fires. Yeah.
Yeah, that. And so news headlines and I'm just sort of out of it this week.
Yeah.
So
So
enlighten me.
Yeah, no, and this is great too because it's one of the things we love about the show here is chopping up things that most people probably haven't heard and definitely haven't kind of because a lot of people have heard about obviously Jimmy Carter's funeral, but it's overshadowed by understandably so many things that are going on. But of particular note at the funeral was that it was 5 generations of presidents that were there. So Mike Pence was there, Trump's vice president with his wife, and Trump tried to have him killed. Trump was like, Trump was, when they were hanging Mike Pence, he said in the grand jury indictment, now you can go find yourself. He said, good. Right. And so, but yet can you imagine
No.
saying, I tried to have you killed or I was cool with having you killed. And then we got to go there and shake hands. Well, Pence being, I don't know, he's stuck in this like generation of like when there was like Reagan, there's just this long gone generation.
Yeah.
Right. And they like preserve, the kind of dignity of the office. Meanwhile, he's taking a dump on the Resolute desk and, TikToking about it, tweeting about it at 2 a.m. But what's funny is his wife would not, Mike Pence's wife would not shake Trump's hand. Shout out to Karen Pence because, mad respect. And then the thing that kind of bothered, I think a lot of people, myself included, is it was just it's a little hard because I think the problem with Trump is you hit it on the you have to take him seriously and can't take him seriously at the same time.
It's hard.
And it's asking us to juggle this cognitive dissonance as a society that does not work. It can't work. And so Barack Obama and everybody that and Kamala Harris and we love Kamala, we worked with the campaign and everything. Rightfully so, they said, you explain what you think this man is going to do to democracy, that he's an authoritarian and waiting, that it's fascism. All of these things, the majority of everybody on our side know to be true and believe. And yet at the same time, now that it's post-election, Barack Obama's sitting there next to Donald Trump, and they're just kind of sitting there talking and laughing. I respect the fact that, I saw West Wing, as the president, you have to deal with dictators. You have to humor people that do atrocities to their people. I understand diplomacy and things like that, and I understand being taken the higher ground. But it's a little tough to see because you run a campaign saying that this man is the end of democracy, this man, which we believe, right, he is, and, let's bear this whole thing out, right? But it's hard. It was hard to see, and I think that bothered a lot of people. And then there was another situation where George W. Bush in the aisle, Trump was to the left, Barack was just to the right of him, and then George W. Bush was to the right of him. So when George W. Bush was coming back from the casket, he had to cross in front of Trump, and he kind of didn't do anything to Trump. But he gave Barack Obama a little belly tap in a way that was kind of like, I think, now I've heard, we could be wrong, but I believe this is to be true, which is there's a seating chart and there's kind of a way that they just set up that it's just a tradition where the presidents go and how and so you want to put them all in one close area so you can get a shot.
Yeah.
And it's also something that never happens and things like that. So the proximity to each other was particularly electric considering all the things that even Trump has said about Joe Biden, and Jill Biden and things like that, and they have to sit right next to him. So we're balancing this sort of decorum kind of thing and out of respect. And so, I'll respect Trump showed up with Melania, to pay respects to the longest living, president. Yeah. And so, cool. I think
cool that everyone can be in the room together. I mean, at least
that's great. And props
for that.
to Trump for being on good behavior and all that, and all that. And let's see how long that sort of decorum lasts, and how much that gets, given back to the other person. But all right, so now really cleansing the palate. Please give us some good news. We bring our segment, Pause for Progress.
I mean, we've been kind of rocking and rolling lately with finding fosters, which has been amazing.
How's Rachel?
Rachel is so good. The only thing is that I really need to boot her out of the house at some point because she's becoming very integrated in my household and follows me everywhere and is a little obsessed with me. And she's now been yelling at my son, Nico, every time he gets close to me when we are going to bed. So if anyone would like to foster Rachel, I would appreciate that because little homegirl is getting too attached to me now.
Yeah, well, she's adorable. I know when you brought her in the first time with her little kind of like wheelie setup.
I know.
Like she was like just glued to you. So.
She really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Wiggles, Noah, all the pups.
Wiggles.
Mr. Wiggles is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, everybody is great. We've moved so many into fosters to make room for some of the fire kids that are coming in.
Yeah.
Some of the owner surrenders that are coming in. And everyone's really kind of been stepping up in the midst of, the chaos.
Yeah.
So it's been a good foster week for us, which sounds rare.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but yeah. And then we've had some really good rescues on the ground, lots of animals moving. We've had a lot of sad moments too. Not everyone has been alive that we have found. So that's been really hard. So we're really trying to balance, the wins this week.
Yeah.
And we still have a bunch of animals that we're looking for, so we're setting traps. The good news from today is that a few of our feeding stations, all the food was missing. So that means somebody's coming around. Yeah.
Sure.
And you can kind of tell when it's like birds or squirrels taking the food.
Sure.
This was, the dog or the cat came and took the food. So there's hope. They're just hiding. They're scared, So we're just going to keep trying until, at least a few more weeks until we find all these dogs and cats that are missing.
I love that as an update. Make sure to check our website for all the constant updates, both from Pause for Progress as well as Compassion Kind's work out in the field. And thank you. If I don't say it enough, thank you for all the stuff that you and your team and everything is doing. It is, it's the real work. Along with all the first responders and firefighters and volunteers and everything. And just, God love all you and your families. And, props to Los Angeles again.
The Angelinos are stepping up.
Yeah. When we come back from break, you're going to get some more insights from the ground.
Yeah.
Join me, Sasha Peters, on Women in the Nude, Season 2, where we bear it all except for our bodies. Leave that to your imagination. My wish for women is that we strip away the fear of judgment and really embrace the full spectrum of who we are.
I don't know if you are coming to terms with being pregnant on the show.
Yeah, I think she was a little depressed. Let's live boldly and openly and change the narratives that define us.
I called my doctor. I'm like, I want to drive my car through a brick wall.
We deserve it, and there's no better time than now. Let's get out of our comfort zone and get down to the bottom of who we are.
All right, TikTok is about to be banned, or is it? On the 19th, we've known this for a long time. They're trying to ban TikTok, which is funny because I've never had a virus on TikTok, but I've had viruses all the time on Facebook, and I've had viruses all the time on Twitter. I know Norm has viruses all the time on Twitter. Elon. So we're going to pivot here. All the kids. The kids, Asher, our Gen Z correspondent, hipped us to Lemonade. We're gonna, might set up some lemonade, a lemonade stand.
Make some lemonade.
We're gonna set up a lemonade stand. And also, I love this one. This one's really funny. So the company, I don't know, do you know this is a company that makes TikTok is ByteDance, right? And I guess they're trying to say this is a security threat and blah, blah, blah. And it probably is, but I'm sure
So is
Meta
everything.
is. Yeah. But they're the ByteDance is the company, and so and I think Asher might be able to even expand on this a little bit more. But so Gen Z kids are moving to an app that's also owned by ByteDance, and it's made it the number one social app on all of iTunes, and it's called RedNote. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hit us in the comments and tell me. But I think this is it. And so it only had a Chinese version, which is really, really funny. So people were going on there with Google Translate and doing English, and it'll translate it to Mandarin. And then they were making like Chinese TikToks on it because it's basically the Chinese version of TikTok. And the thing is, you want the algorithm, you want the shit. And then they were like, oh, well, there wasn't an English version necessarily of it, because even when I saw it and I downloaded it, it was a Chinese, I had Chinese writing and not English writing on it. So, but what they did is the Chinese being the Chinese, like in a matter of like 3 hours, they cooked up an American version. So RedNote, there's a English version as well. That I think could, who knows? Who knows? But that Gen Z kids are jumping on there to piss our government off, because it's like, we'll just go to another Chinese app.
Okay, like take this away from us and watch what we do.
Take this away from us. We'll just
I
go.
kinda like that.
You know what I like about that is that's Gen Z saying, take that app away from us and we'll go to the worst boyfriend, the one that, the boyfriend. We'll go to the really, really awful guy.
Yeah, like the delinquent, like 3 charges boyfriend that your mom doesn't like.
Right, I'm going to go down to county and find my next boyfriend.
Speaking of, does what's his name have a new wife yet?
Who, Luigi?
Luigi.
Does Luigi? I don't know.
Is Luigi married yet?
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to get an update.
Yeah,
on Luigi
like is he
here.
getting mail in commissary? I don't know, but I feel like
yeah.
homie's got to be
I
getting
don't know,
engagements.
but make sure you're not going to lose any Slap the Power or anything from Slap the Network, because we'll be there up in your grill, promise. But unfortunately, the app will be banned in U.S. this Sunday if it isn't sold. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank fame has said he'd like to purchase the TikTok assets. Unfortunately, ByteDance claims it's not for sale, and as of now, things are not looking great for TikTok. It's millions of users. I think it's going to splinter into a lot of things. It could go back, Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. But also RedNote. Hey, shout out to RedNote Lemonade. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I also think this could get kicked down the field, and if it does go, I think I've heard that it goes dark on the app. It goes dark on the App Store, but we're going to be able to continue to use it for the foreseeable future until there's an update that gets updated on the App Store. And then if you update, it will, I think, shut it down. And then there's also things where you can use a VPN and
That's
say
true.
you're living in a
different place.
not oppressed country like Canada,
right.
or Mexico. Somewhere like that. Just use your VPN to say you're coming
I'll
from
just
there. and you
TikTok
can do
from
it
Puerto
too.
Rico.
But,
Call it a day.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. If you are on TikTok and you're scared, let us know where you're going. Hit us up in the comments and things like that, and let us know what's happening to your TikTok journey, because I tell you, they got a great algorithm. It really is good. It really is. My For You page pretty much knows me pretty well. I know. All right, so before we get out of here, another edition of Make This Ish Make Sense, Asher. Our own Gen Z correspondent, Asher Friedberg, brings issues of the day and explains from a Gen Z perspective how this makes sense. So this time we have to summon him, though, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah. Because
He can
we
only be
never
here
know,
when we summon
right?
him.
And we never know where he is.
Right. Sure. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess what do we do?
I'm going to click my heels under the desk
Are you?
3 times.
Okay. Do it.
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
We're live. You can't. Actually, you can be on this show.
Yeah, you actually
Drinking.
could drink a hippie water.
Yeah, you could drink this hippie
All right,
water.
We'll
Probably
allow
could.
It.
All right.
We'll allow it.
All right, maybe after we're done shooting.
All right, make this ish make sense, Asher. Come on. It's still fires based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's been a tough. It's been officially a week as of the day we're shooting this, about a week and a half when this is out. But yeah, I mean, Gen Z has had a very unique perspective on the fires. There's been, a combination of a lot of empathy and a lot of people putting efforts to help out. There's been a lot of lack of empathy, I would say. It depends on who you are. It's very much going to be based on who you are. A lot of it's going to be celebrity based. People are, I mean, look, if it's like if you're a politician, like some people are, less sympathetic towards politicians they don't like, or people who share political views they don't like. People are talking about James Woods, Mel Gibson, but then there's celebrities that it's not necessarily a political thing and more of a perceived idea of wealth thing, whether or not it's true or not. The idea that there's seems to be no sympathy for celebrities who have lost their homes, possibly pets, and maybe more. It's been a really interesting dual perspective where, again, we are clearly not a monolith.
No. And, the Alta from Alta Loma,
Altadena.
From Altadena to the Palisades, it's all stretches of the economic spectrum. And what is it that you think is the Gen Z standout as far as I only know Gen Z to be really in these situations. What comes across my algorithm is a lot of really, really awesome energy and people. What's been the worst thing that you've seen?
Oh, man. Well, I do want to just quickly highlight what you were saying, because, yes, a lot of Gen Z has been very sympathetic, empathetic, wanting to help people, donating their food, their clothing, their old beauty products, personal care. I'm so proud of our generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you're saying, not everyone here is rich. We all know that. But the assumption is that they are and that it's all celebrities, and it's not. It's not. And especially in Altadena, I mean, I'm going to houses where, yes, they're nice houses, but they've had them in their families for decades.
Yeah,
decades. And it is complete devastation for them, because even though the value of the home reached, 50 times more than what it was when they got it, now they have nothing. And they're not going to be able to get a house that can compare to the home that they had.
That's the problem.
So
is
that's
that
the
the market
problem.
has moved on.
They're going to go from their nice 3-bedroom house in Altadena to maybe a 1-bedroom apartment that they can afford. I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
So people aren't factoring in those, those pieces. And it is a little spotty. And a lot of people did inherit these homes.
Yep.
So not only that part, but then on the celebrity side, of course, we can all take away the guilt and, feeling bad because we know that they have funds to renew and get. But to your point, memories are lost. That is your home where you've raised your children. I mean, people have lost their animals, their loved ones. So there's different ways to feel bad,
Yeah.
like that. There's just different ways to approach it. It's not always about money. We're so focused on money, and I get it if you're the person on the other end that doesn't have the funds to get a new house.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But we can still all agree and relate on the fact that memories being lost, the home that you share your dinners with your family every night, and the home that's been in your home, in your family for generations.
Yeah,
like, it's terrible. And for the fur babies on my end, I mean, I don't care what house you're in.
Yeah.
It's devastating to lose a family member. So,
and the love you put into these houses and things like that,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Well, Gen Z, Boomer, X, Millennial, Y, it doesn't matter. If you need help and don't have it, make sure to reach out. And I think. Again, I think, like you said, you're proud of Gen Z. I am too. I'm proud of everybody that's been around, as far as all the people that are kind of in our thread of all generations.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to forget it here in
absolutely not.
California. So, all right. Well, somber show, but that will do it for us. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you, firefighters. Thank you, all the volunteers again. Thank you to Asher, our Gen Z correspondent, and everybody. Stay tough, love each other and someone else, and make sure to like, subscribe, share, and if you want to hear something on the show, email us. We might even do that too. So, all right. Till next week. Sonics.
Love.
Action.
Progress.
And power.
And power.
See you guys next week. Slap the Power is a Slap Network production. It's written and produced by Rick Barriodil and Asia Nakia. Our senior producer is Bree Corey. Audio and video editing by Asher Friedberg and Bree Corey, and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA and 360 Pod Studios. If you're into online power scrolling like we are, don't forget to follow Slap the Power on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and probably Pinterest soon for access to full episodes, bonus content, and more. And if you're as full of hot takes and crazy ideas as we are, please think about dropping us a review to help boost this episode, and you can help blow up the group chat by sharing with friends, family, or random shit posters on the internet you want in on the conversation. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, please email info@slapthepower.com.
Gambling is part of the culture of America, since even before we were America. I'm Norman Chad. I know gambling. I've played blackjack and poker. I've bet sports and horse races. I've even hit the slot machines at a Pahrump, Nevada 7-Eleven. You say gambling, I say gambling mad. So join me on Gambling Mad with Norman Chad, wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on socials at Gambling Mad Show or at Gambling Mad Norman Chad at YouTube.